Hello, Chris.
Hello, Lars.
So, what would you define othering? What can you think of as a source of othering?
I'd probably use a book called Unbroken. It talks about a main character called Louis. Uh, he describes his life in a POW camp during World War II and how he feels he was being othered.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on what him being othered was like?
Him being othered was them being treated like close to slaves, even though they're all human. But he was being othered basically because of his opinions and their actions towards each other during the war.
What effects did this have, like in the way he was treated? Can you list a specific example of how he was treated differently due to his background?
So he was treated differently because the Japanese and the U.S. didn't really have the same opinions, and they were going to war with each other because of their attack on Pearl Harbor, and that caused a lot of death during that time.
Yeah, well, I haven't read the book or seen the movie. I think that's a great example, just based off how wars usually go. There's usually sides that are just purely against the other, regardless of where they're from, what they're like. It's just due to where they're from. And they do that, they treat them as enemies.
Thank you. What is your source of othering?
So, for my source, I chose to use the movie Of Mice and Men, which is basically about these two friends who go traveling throughout the world trying to better their lives.
Can you give me like some sort of idea of what othering goes on in the movie?
Oh yeah, sure. So there's this guy named Lenny, who's the friend of George, and he's basically a really tall guy who's a little bit handicapped mentally, which caused him to do somewhat not necessarily stupid things, just not the brightest things. And due to his mental handicap, a lot of people treat him differently when they're around him. They kind of treat him as the big, tall, dumb guy, and they don't respect him or anything, even though he is worthy of respect. And they place him into this stereotype, this group of handicapped people that are incapable of proper speech, even though he was. And due to that, they treat him as a child, where really he was just an adult.
I read the book and I watched the movie too. I liked it. It was a pretty good movie, but I want to ask you what effects you think Lenny had on him when he heard them talking about him like that.
I think it made him think worse of himself, and it made him think that he was maybe actually part of that group where he really wasn't. The whole stereotype of the big, tall, dumb guy. He kind of thought that he wasn't worth anything else. He was just always going to be stuck in that standard, and he didn't get to go anywhere in life.
Right. That was a good discussion, Lars. Thank you.
Yes, it was, Chris.